Please start.
A very good morning and happy Independence Day in advance to all our friends, donors, patrons, partners, and well-wishers who have joined us from across the globe. Good evening to everyone in India who has been part of Vidya's journey. We'll all be celebrating Independence Day together. As we are on the threshold of the 75th Independence Day, our hearts swell with patriotic fervor as we recount the outstanding achievements of our fellow citizens in different walks of life, the most recent being in the realm of sports at the Tokyo Olympics 2020. We are indeed honored and privileged to have with us today an outstanding sportswoman. This is Sangeeta S Bahl, a mountaineer who has distinguished herself by climbing Mount Everest at the age of 53, the oldest Indian woman to do so. Welcome, Sangeeta. What an amazing feat. Today's webinar, Tryst with Destiny on Everest, is the 28th of the Vidya Knowledge series. Taking a leaf from Nehru's speech, A Tryst with Destiny, that he made at the stroke of midnight when India got her independence, he said, and I quote, "The service of India means the service to the millions who live in poverty. It means the ending of ignorance, illiteracy, disease, and inequality of opportunities, and creating a social, economic, and political institution that will guarantee justice and fairness of life to everyone." This is what epitomizes the ethos of Vidya. At Vidya, we educate and empower children, youth, and women, and transform their lives and help them to create a niche in society, realizing their dreams as they go along. Vidya was founded in 1985 by Mrs. Rashmi Misra on the IIT Delhi campus with 5 slum children. Today, Vidya has a presence in Delhi, Gurugram, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Pune. It has 78 projects on board and has impacted almost 4 lakh lives. Our grassroots programs, which are nationally acclaimed, include skill development, social entrepreneurship, digital literacy, adult literacy, schools, beyond school programs, and distance education. Our flagship project is VIDYA School in Gurugram. It's a CBSE affiliated award-winning school that provides a blend of scholastic and co-scholastic subjects to almost 1,000 students. In keeping with the Fit India policy of the Union government, sports is an integral part of the curriculum. Our children have won laurels at tournaments at the district, state, and national level in athletics and jump rope. Our moderator for today is Mr. Yashpal Singhal, a multifaceted person. He is an IIT alumnus and has been the CEO of Vidya. He's also a donor for Vidya. He is an avid golfer and a marathon runner. He also plays the saxophone. So when you have functions, you know whom to call. Thank you. Over to Yash. Now to much ado.
Thanks, Dilrubaji, for your kind words. Yes, I mean, these are some of the passions I look forward to. Good evening and warm welcome to all of you in the audience for this exciting session, Tryst with Destiny on Everest. Nothing better than that, right? And again, my name is Yashpal Singhal, and I have the honor of hosting this thrilling session with Mrs. Sangeeta S Bahl, and everything about her is so inspiring. When I read about Sangeeta, earlier on, I mean, I was like, what? This is amazing. She's a highly successful entrepreneur and has pioneered image and personal brand consulting in India. She is a former Miss India finalist. She is a veganist, animal activist, and environmentalist. I mean, I'm kind of falling short now. I mean, and last but not the least, I mean, I think Dilrubaji talked about it. She created history by scaling Mount Everest at the age of 53. the oldest Indian women to do it. So that's what Sangeeta is. So I'm honored to welcome Sangeeta once again. Yeah. So Sangeeta, you know what? I have deliberately kept your introduction brief because our audience would love to hear directly from you about your multifaceted, inspiring personality, and also how you became the person you are.
Yeah, thank you, Yash, and happy Independence Day to everybody who's watching. It's our 75th Independence Day of India, and I'm a very, very proud Indian because it's the flag of India that we take up to the high mountains, and it's such a matter of pride at that time. How did I get here? It's a big story. Interestingly enough, I come from Jammu, a small conservative town. It still is at this point of time. And I was born there into a very patriarchal family. So starting from when I was just very young, I could see the difference between how the boys were treated and how the girls were treated. And there was a living example of my mother, who I saw that she was convent educated, beautiful. You know, we were 4 siblings, all being reared by her. But all she did was just look after the house, and there was nothing to her education. She was really, really very well educated. And when I saw that, it was something that did not sit well with me. And I wanted to do something different and not toe the line, so as to say. So the seed was sown at that time when my mother started giving me a lot of moral support and said, not only do you have to study, but you have to do something in your life and not be just like me. So there was, it was a very tough call because the males in my family, my father, my grandfather, everybody had only one wish to get her married off. So I escaped marriage 3 times. Once at 14, once at 17, and once later I got engaged and got out of it again. So what started was this summer vacation when I was 17 and I'd finished my 11th standard, and I went to spend my time with my aunt in Delhi. And going to Delhi was like, you know, another world because it was modern and my aunt was working. So she sat with me one day and she said, you know, you have to not waste time over here. Why don't you just take up a part-time job? And because she was working herself, so she could understand that I was itching to do something. So what started with a part-time job, I went on to do it for 1 whole year against the wishes of my dad, who stopped talking to me for 6 months. And everybody in my side of the family were literally ostracizing me that she's going to get spoiled and stuff like that. And this I'm talking in 81. And 81 seems like, I mean, ages. But I stuck to my gun and I worked for a year at 17, and side by side, I studied. But during this time, I realized what I was missing as in the normal college life. So my mother, you know, goaded me to come back and finish my college and then go back. By then, everything was already in my mind that I'm not going to be like my mother and just be at home. So I went back to Dalhousie. Dalhousie is my maternal ancestral home. And I went and stayed there for a little while and finished my college. And then I came back to Delhi after my graduation. And from then on until now, it's like 36 years I've been working. But what happened in between is that I find that if you are different from others, there's going to be a lot of societal pressures, especially for a girl. You can't do this, you can't do that. But the more the people told me you can't do that, I took it as a personal challenge. And I said, why can't I do it? I have to show them that I can do it. So starting with working in a hotel, which was frowned at, I went on to join the airline industry, right from the ground staff to the airport staff, and finally flying for 15 years, living abroad, because there was again a lot of pressure that you should get married now. And that pressure decided for me in my mind that I have to get away from all of them, and not only not marry right now when I'm not ready, but just leave India and go away so nobody comes after me. And so I went to stay in Jordan for about 3 years, flew for Royal Jordanian. I saw the whole world practically in those 3 years. And then later on, I went and worked for the best airline in the world, Emirates Airline, and stayed in Dubai for 12 years. During this spell as well, I had a brief spell of marriage with somebody much younger than me, and that also didn't work. And I, like the person I am, I get up, I do something, I try it. If it works, it goes on. If it doesn't work, I dust. And I said, okay, now what? So basically, being an explorer, I have always lived my life on my own rules and have managed to get where I want, because there's been that passion to do things. There's been that goal orientation, the feeling of achievement. So when you talk today of how things have happened, it's happened with leaving the airline, coming back to India, marrying the second time. And during the time also, I want to stress that I became the first crew in Emirates Airline to do an executive MBA while flying. So that was another challenge that I took on to myself. And I said, I don't want to be just known as somebody who looks good, but I want to be known for my mind. And that's always been the case, because even from time to time, I have modeled, worked for TV serials, but that was not something that I really wanted to go for. So coming back to India, I married captain, ship's captain. He left his sailing. I left my flying. We set up home here. And because I had acquired an MBA, I set up image consulting. Why? Because I took up a SWOT analysis for myself, and I said, what is it that now I can do? And everybody, I took, cognizance from my friends and family, and they said, oh, you look good all the time, so you should do something where you can tell people how to look good. And during this time, I came to know that in US, there was a course that started on image consulting, and that's how it started. So I did image consulting while I was pregnant with my child. And when he was 2.5 years, I set up my company, Impact Image Consultants. And this is the 16th year running. And it's been very successful. Initially, people would come and say, is this a beauty parlor? Because it was very difficult to explain. But what I want to say is that anything that is different is going to come into the notice of others. But you have a lot of explaining to do and talking about how it helps. So that being done, what happened is I was nearly 47, and my husband's from the Dune School, and he was coming up to his 50th birthday. And in this 50th birthday, he said, he's been in the Dune School, so he's been used to trekking and things like that. So he has a younger brother in UK with whom he was going to go and climb Kilimanjaro as his 50th bucket list, so as to say. And unfortunately, his younger brother Anush could not go with him. So just as we are talking today, he sat in front of me and he said, I really want to do this, and there's nobody to go with me, so will you come? And I was like, I had never done trekking in my life. I had never been to the gym, because just flying for the airline was, exercise enough, going up and down the cabins. I had never really stepped into the gym. And he said, you come with me. And I said, okay, so what do we have to do? And he said, we join the gym, we will lose some weight, and we will go and hike to this peak in Africa, in Tanzania, called Kilimanjaro, where you go up and on top there is snow, it's a crater. And I said, okay. And that, yes, changed my life. So I want to say that I have a ability to see sometimes that let me try this, let me explore this. If I like it, I carry on. If I don't like it, I just leave it. So that, yes, changed my life, which is why we are sitting here today.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you've been a true explorer, Sangeeta. I mean, you could have done so many things and actually not only done and tried. I mean, you have like, achieved a lot on that. And this was one of the questions from the audience about how did you get this passion at the age of 47, and then, it's well answered. In terms of many of our audience are not very conversant with the whole regime of preparation or fitness regime to actually climb mountain, and more specifically Everest and some of those difficult ones. So, so if you could tell us more about it, and how did you prepare yourself mentally and physically? How many times did you decide to say, what, why am I doing this? It's too much. Like, what is it for me? And what was driving you all this time? It's hard, right? So.
Okay. I was talking to you earlier about how in my own family, they always try to squash my dreams to say, you can't do it. Girls don't do that. Girls just marry. They have babies. And, what do you need? We have so much money. But they never really tapped at the desires that a girl might have, and when my mother says, when she was married into the family and she came from an army background, everything was very, classy and everything was taken care of. And then when she comes into this family, my father's sisters were already married at 18, 19, and everybody would be carrying small babies around. So that was the scene of the house. And so I was not the one that I could not see myself doing that. When the climbing started, and both, like I mentioned, both of us are so well traveled, but he had traveled the 7 seas, and I had traveled the 7 continents, so as to say, by flight, but we hadn't really done this. And when Kilimanjaro happened, we found that with 4 months of training in the gym, and believe me, my mental state going into the gym was utter fear, because I used to see these big dumbbells lying there, and for a person who had never really lifted weights, I used to feel really embarrassed, because I said, if I will pick up these dumbbells and I don't know what to do. So that was my mental block at that time. But we didn't really have to train so much for strength as for cardio. So when we climbed Kilimanjaro and we were coming down, it was tough, no doubt, because something that you do when you climb your first peak with 19,341 feet right on the top, and you have no issues, no frostbite, and you're still sane. So when we came down, and my son at that time was 8 years old. Another mental block that I had was that I have gone now for 16 days, and I really missed him. And my mother-in-law was looking after him. So that was the only thing that was troubling me. But for my husband, as most husbands or most men in the house would suddenly decide and say, I'm doing this and I'm going. Like a person would go for a business trip, pick his bag and say, I'm going, and everything else can be managed. But so my husband decided to go to the US, and he went and trained there. And it was in the next few months that we went on a summer vacation to Darjeeling. And there we went to the Darjeeling Institute. And there my husband said, let's just find out if they can train us. Because he was 51 and I was 47. And the guy sitting at the counter told us, above 40, we do not train. This is a long time back. And again, the same feeling, why can't I do it? Why can't a girl do it? So I found somebody who had climbed the 7 continents, and I got him to train me in Manali. And after that, my mental state became okay because he encouraged me so much and said, Are, you can do everything. So just that word, so word of encouragement helped me. And then we set out on a journey to climb the 7 continents of the world. Now, when you climb the 7 continents of the world, it's not just you go and climb this mountain. You have to train all the time. So we were training. We climbed 4 peaks together because we had done Kilimanjaro. We were coming in the papers. Then we did Mount Everest in Russia, the highest in Europe. Then we did Antarctica and became the 3rd and 4th Indians in the world to climb Mount Vinson in Antarctica. Oh. The 4th mountain, Denali in Alaska, is where I had a terrible injury. I tore my ACL, PCL, and meniscus at 16,000 feet, and I had to be carried down in a sled. My husband summited. I still haven't summited. I've gone back there 3 times, and still the summit eludes me. Like they say, the mountains accept you. The mountain's not accepting me for some reason.
Is that a next target, Sangeeta?
Yeah, that's my next target. I want to go back next year if everything opens up, but that's something that I'm training for from now. So what I want to say is that training for mountains is very different from training for, say, even marathons or training for just being fit. It can't be a repetitive moment because you're going in different terrains and you're going on altitude. You have less oxygen. You have to check your parameters from time to time, how you actually are at altitude. And very, very lucky for me that I've had no altitude issue ever. And which has been a bonus because any amount of height I've gone and it's been okay. Probably it's something to do with the airlines that I was in. Maybe I got the air from there and it's fitted in my body. And so when I go...
You're flying high anyway, right? So,
training has been consistent. And up till now, I have climbed 11 peaks, including the 6 continents.
So when did you decide to climb the top of the world?
Okay.
Everest.
Now, like I said, you had to go in between and train for various things. It was in 2013, I went to Everest base camp as part of a trek and I went to climb a peak called the Island Peak. And there is a place, Everest base camp, it's called the flagship, and you go up to Kala Patthar, and it's from there that you can see Everest. And since we had already thought that we will do it, but we knew we can't do it straight away. So that was 13. And 13, I saw Everest for the first time, and it looked so far away, but it looked so beautiful and so gigantic and majestic. And I said, one day I'll do it. And then slowly set up my targets for climbing here, sometimes Himachal, sometimes even in various places like South America. So everywhere there was a goal attached to it. There was a challenge. Let me do it. Let me see how my parameters work and how I am. And Everest happened the first time in 2017, but I did not summit. I had to come back from 23,500 feet. I was really dejected. But like I am, I came back and I, dusted my clothes and I put on a bright lipstick and I said, I'm going to go back next year. Wow. And I'm going to go back really prepared, so much so that even gods will pull me up.
This is
so fantastic. With that mindset, I went back in 18.
Wow, amazing. And I'm sure you can talk about days and days about your actual climb. This whole camp 1, camp 2, camp 3, camp 4, South Call, going up. So do you want to give a abridged version of your climb and if you can lace it up with some of the anecdotes, and it'll be pretty interesting for our audience to listen from you.
Okay, going to Everest is a 2-month project, which means that it takes you about 9 days to get to Everest base camp, and that's where you set up your home. You have your own tent, and everything else is provided for depending on the company you go with. In 17, I had gone with the American company. 2 months is a long time. So you need to be with people where you can converse, where you can joke, where you can laugh. Happened mujhe all the time I had to speak English because there was no other Indian. So in 18, when I decided to go back, I decided to take the reins of my climb in my own hand. So I chose 2 of my Sherpas with whom it was just the 3 of us who were going to climb the Everest. So when you go to Everest Base Camp, you set up your camp there, you have your puja there, you go and train there in the ice fall, and then you go into the Khumbu ice fall to go to Camp 1. Now to check your altitude, you go from the base camp to Camp 1, touch Camp 2 and come back. Then you go again after a few days while training in the Everest Base Camp, you go to Camp 1, Camp 2, touch Camp 3 and come back. That way your body is getting accustomed to going up and down. So you're like moving all the time and eating really well. I would say in a single day, you are actually, taking care of, you're eating like a lot, and at least 1,000 to 1,200 calories you're burning every single day. I came back 9 kilos less, by the way, when I came from Everest. And then the summit window happens when there are no winds on the top of Everest. And that's when you decide to say, I'm going to go all the way. And then you go Camp 1, Camp 2. And from Camp 2, you weigh the oxygen. Because from then on, the danger zone starts. The death zone starts. And then you weigh the oxygen, and then you keep going from Camp 2 to Camp 3 to Camp 4 to the summit and back. It looks very easy when I say it, but it's really hard. It's really hard. And it's like 17, maybe once or twice I did think, is it really worth it? But in 18, not once, not even once I thought that this is not worth it. Every time I said, I can do it, and I will do it. I would say the Gayatri Mantra. Every time I felt there was a tough section that I had to maneuver, there are these ladders, aluminium ladders that cover the crevices. So when you go through the crevices, you can't see, it's like nothingness down there. And my mentor who had trained me in Manali, he had been to Everest a couple of times. So he told me, one day when you will do Everest, and when you will cross those ladders, and don't look down because they will say, come Sangeeta, come Sangeeta. So I never used to look down, but every time I was climbing the ladder, I would say the Gayatri Mantra, and I would say, God, please, just another one. And one step at a time, I kept going on and on. And because I had this knee injury where I had got my knee restructured, I used to have big issues crossing the crevices sometimes because they would stretch. In the restructuring of the knee, they have a pin that's inserted in your tibia and your femur. So that used to stretch sometimes. So I made a joke. I'm a Punjabi. So I made a joke and I would say, Syapa aa gaya phir se. And my Sherpas who were Nepalese, they couldn't understand the meaning, Syapa. So, but they got used to it because I would mutter and say, oh, Syapa, And then in the last lot, when I was going up and I was still crossing the ladder, and they would laugh with each other and tell me, ma'am, your Syapa has come. So, that's how I crossed all the Syapas and I came back in one piece.
So tell me, when you're 100 meters away from the summit, like you're there almost, look at the summit. I mean, what do you feel? I mean, those last moments and what's going in your mind? I mean, you're physically very exhausted and lack of oxygen and everything is like, so what goes on at those last half an hour or whatever it is?
Okay, in 17, when I had gone to climb Everest, I had come back from Camp 3. So I didn't know what was beyond there. I had only heard of things. I had watched the videos. My husband is also a climber. He had climbed in 16. But, what you see for yourself is different from what you actually, somebody tells you. So I remember that we were going for the summit, and my husband had said there's a place called South Summit. So when you
Yeah.
reach South Summit, there's like 2 hours and then you'll be at the summit. Now, you lose track of time. You lose track of yourself, basically. You're so tired, your mind keeps saying, keep going, let's keep going. You know, I would, every time there was a wind, and the wind picked up in South Summit, 70 miles per hour.
Wow.
And we were 79 people that had left the camp to go for the summit in the night. We all climb in the night, by the way, so that the ice is very rock hard and you don't slip and it's not soft. So, you know, that's why we go for the summit in the night. And you have to come back before afternoon. And I remember there was just a trickle of light coming at South Summit and the wind picked up. And my Sherpa said that, ma'am, this is South Summit. He signaled to me. And I had changed my oxygen bottle again there because we have to change the oxygen. They were changing it for me. And from there, half the people went back because the winds were so severe.
Wow.
So that's the time that you realize what your mind says. And they said, shall we go back? And I said, no, we are going this way. Acha. When we were going this way, I had only seen pictures of the summit with these prayer flags, just like the prayer flags I have. By the way, these prayer flags are from Everest. I had taken them up, got them blessed, and they are in my office. And so we reached at a place where he said, take rest. And it was like a flattish place. So I thought we have reached the summit. And I was very emotional and I cried. And then he said, let's go. And I said, where? So he said, this is not the summit. By then I had my emotional tears. Everything had come full flow. And so my emotions started from there. And then I could see the summit after a little while. As you approach the summit, the first thing that you feel is you feel gratitude. You feel gratitude. You feel like a tiny speck. You feel you are nothing. And that's when you realize that all the useless things that we do in the world doesn't amount to anything. What really matters is living the now. So I was in the now, I was in the moment. I took in everything that was around. I saw the horizon. I could see the curvature of the earth. I could see all mountains. And it was just the most beautiful sight in the world.
Wow.
And I sat there for 25 minutes because number one, I was so tired. Number two, we had to take out all the flags and I sang the national anthem. I thanked my husband, my son. I did another 2 videos. I don't know how I remember doing all that.
Yeah.
And but luckily I got all the pictures. And on top of Everest, they always tell you that there is a certain place where you have to showcase Makalu, that's another mountain, at the back. Otherwise, they don't give you a Everest certificate because people have morphed pictures and things like that. So you have to take out your mask and take pictures, and you have to have that background. So that's why it took 25 minutes.
Wow.
And what also I remember very candidly is that for a minute, you tend to forget when you're taking out your mask, you tend to forget. So my heavy mittens, I took them out to adjust this. And by chance, my liner, which was inside the mittens, also came out just for a split second. But the cold hit me so badly that I had to quickly put it back. And one of my Sherpas, he rubbed my hands over there on the summit, and I can never forget that because I could have been frostbitten. So these tender moments I will never forget. Wow. And he was so sweet. He just said, ma'am, it'll be okay. I thought my fingers are going to fall off or something. But this is something that I remember. Then I also remember that I am one of the luckiest people in the world who have come here. Yeah. And the age did not even hit me because I was just fulfilling my personal challenge. It's much later when I came back, I realized that I was the oldest from India.
Yeah, and there's a question from the audience here. How Indian women can conquer the world like you did uh, and fulfill their dreams while taking care of the family. So there is a whole thing about the family balance, and you got what your commitments are for family versus what you want to do. So how does one manage that?
A long time back, there's an aunt of mine. She told me, this I'm going to say in Hindi, is that या आप किसी के बन जाओ या आप किसी को अपना बना लो. So मैंने अपने हस्बैंड को अपना बना लिया और उनको मैंने बोला था कि शादी के वक्त कि जो आप करोगे ना मैं करूंगी. तो माउंटेन्स अगर वो क्लाइंब करे तो मैं भी करूंगी. And that's one thing. The other thing is that while I have been here married for so many years, I have given so much love and affection and given without really much expectations. So, फिर support मिल जाता है. When you give unconditionally, then you get the support. But I would like to tell the Indian women, particularly, number one, don't think of age. That age is a barrier. That I am so and so age, now I can't do it. This is a limitation of your mind. You have to open the blinkers. The world is yours. Get fit. Look after yourself. Even if you look after your families, do not forget to look after yourself. Have a me time. This is not called selfish. This is called self-worth and looking after yourself. When you will look after yourself, you'll be more interesting to people. You'll be interesting to your kids and definitely to your husband. And then set up your goals. Why should marriage be an impediment not to go further, to do anything else? Why should it be a stop? It should be actually a start. So go and do it.
Fantastic. And there's a question around fitness from the audience once again. And it says, what are the important fitness regimes to be followed to stay fit for women above 45 and above 50? So I'm just reading the question verbatim. So what is your fitness regime and what do you advise our audience?
Okay. As everybody knows, women after, say, mid-40s will get into menopause also. These days, people are getting into menopause earlier. But your metabolism definitely will slow down. So your reason to stay fit is to eat clean, basically healthy. I'm a vegan. So I say eat clean means eat nutritious food. Do not have processed food because it's going to just magnify your menopause and your weight will build up. There's a thing called menobelly. Because I've done so much of now research on this, the menobelly will get magnified and become worse if you have processed food. Fitness, morning and evening, half an hour of walk, mandatory. Morning, go for a walk whenever you get a chance. And then in the night, after dinner, definitely half an hour. And this will, help you equalize, you not put on extra weight. And of course, if you're really into fitness, then I would say when you are late 40s, definitely you should do strength training. Strength training will build up your muscle and will keep you healthier for a long, long time. You can wear whatever you want after that. You don't have to hide under saris and shawls and suits, or pants. Wear your skirts. I wear shorts even till now, and I'm 56. So there's no stopping except you, girls, women. You keep your mind open to things.
Fantastic. So you talked about you being a veganist, also an animal activist and environmentalist. So can you just talk a little bit about that part of your life and what drove you to kind of some of these areas?
Okay, from early childhood, I'm very fond of animals. But when you were growing up, nobody told you that there's cruelty to animals. Nobody told you, just ate meat. So until the time that I was climbing Everest, I was a non-vegetarian, but the seed of giving up meat happened many times since 2015. And it happened in one of my treks in Great Lakes of Kashmir, where I saw the flock of sheep and herds of goats just passing with us, going with us. And in the night, the guide serves us mutton. And I asked him at 14,500, how have you managed to get mutton for us? And then I realized it had to be one of those animals that were killed for this. And that really upset me to no end. I came back, gave up meat for a year. Then I was told, these fallacies about there is protein only in animals. And I was even told by so many, including my husband, who said that if you will give up meat, you will not climb Everest. So that thing stuck in my mind, and I said, okay, when I will climb Everest, I will finish it. At the day I will summit, and I knew somehow I will summit one day, I will give up meat. So that's exactly what happened. 2018, I pledged up on the top. I thanked God and I said, you made my wish come true. I'm giving up meat as soon as I go down. And that's what I did. I'm now a vegan for 3 years plus. And as part of animal activism, now I help animals. I make houses for them outside on the street, give them a street address. And for the environment, I try and plant trees and eat healthy and, all kind of things.
Wow. So you've also been Miss India finalist. So
yeah,
tell us more about that journey. Did you train, by the way, with Sabira Merchant or something, or were you on your own?
Surprisingly, I was only 19 at the time, and the same aunt with whom I had gone, remember, the one who told me take up a part-time job. This is at that time when Vimla Patil was the editor of Femina. And she had sent in the form. There was nothing electronic. Everything was by the postal mail. So there was a tear-off sheet with you had to fill it in, and then you send it, and they called you. So they called me for this interview, and for a round of, they were like about 200 girls, and they picked about 20 from there, and they said, you just come on that day. We will do 1 day practice, and then you will walk the ramp. That was it. There was no training, nothing. And I walked the ramp. I was confident, being a convent educated girl, but I lost out on the question answer, because I came from a small town like Jammu, where again, there was a lot of push of not to do this, not to do that. So the confidence was not there. So anything that I failed in, I wanted to improvise on that. And interestingly, when I launched my company, Impact Image Consultants, I trained the Femina Miss Indias.
Wow.
Because that time I hadn't got the training. So I was tied up with them for 5 years. And then I climbed Everest, and then I said, Abhi nahi mujhe karna, bas.
So that was one of the motivations for your image and consulting, personal brand.
And that is also because in those days there was no schools, there was nobody who would tell us, "Bhai, aise karo, aise karo." So I felt that the girls, if they're given the right direction, they can just about achieve anything. So I have been training them on poster poise and presentation on stage as part of the company.
Oh. So there's a question from audience here on the image consulting. With the experience that you have learned through your image consulting firm, what career prospects you have in mind for Indian women that Indian women can explore? Which are.
Okay, I find that other than every woman in the world, I'm an international image consultant. Every woman in the world must look after herself. So if she looks after her own grooming, she can even do courses to become a personal brand strategist. So she can get women who have just had a baby, they have to lose weight, so they can do courses in nutrition, they can do courses in etiquette, and they can become a personal brand strategist. And you can also do a whole image consultancy course and set up your own business starting from home. And build it up, tie up with people, I mean, the world is your oyster. If you want to do something, you'll find where your niche is. People can also become color consultants. I'm a color consultant too. So not just in the salon, you run a salon and then you advise people on colors. So there is a whole lot of things people can do. Only thing is there has to be that passion. There has to be that will to do it, the determination to do it, and of course, a lot of hard work. And then you
Fantastic.
can do it.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. So we also hear that you are writing a book which is soon to be released. So can you talk a bit more about that?
Well, the book is also a little bit like what I'm telling you. So it's on my whole story from
Okay.
Jammu to flying to climbing mountains
Wow.
and the lessons that I have learned along the way. Uh, you know, so it's in the making. It's being edited right now. It's going to take a couple of months. It's a coffee table book, and it's going to have a lot of pictures. So pictures, tell 1,000 stories, and it's very customized. That's why it's taking time. Last year I couldn't really work on it that much because the state of mind to write a book. Your state of mind has to be in a continuous flow. I was not happening last year. So it's in the process, it'll happen. And the title of the book is called Reaching for the Sky.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. You visited the Vidya School recently, or some time back. So, what did tell us more about your interaction with the students there and what is happening out there?
I think what Mrs. Rashmi is doing absolutely outstanding. Number one, she is such a positive person. You get to like her immediately, and the warmth that I felt from her and the kids, and I found them to be so intelligent. Just like I said, if somebody gave you a little bit of encouragement and you can go places. Vidya, I really enjoyed. I was there in 2019, and it was incidentally the same time for Independence Day, and we had hoisted a flag. For any girl who every girl should become economically independent, number one, and that will come through education. And if the education is there, the economy of India is going to go places because there will be nobody who is not working, because education, economy, and empowerment, all these three things, I think Vidya is already imparting. And what I would say also is that from time to time, these kids have to be exposed to outdoor activities, because the real challenge and the real growth happens outside of your comfort zone.
Right. And this is exactly what Vidya is set out to do in terms of educating empowerment of students. Uh, any other message to our youth, in Vidya and otherwise as well, in terms of can trekking and hiking, etc. Can this be a career choice as well, or is more of a hobby as you see it?
No, no, it can be a career choice now, especially during the COVID. Now people are going outdoors, but you have to be trained in the basic mountaineering. You can become a guide. And let me also tell you, I run another company called Impact Mountaineering. It's a mountaineering company. And I would be willing to take female guides if they're trained properly. And we spend some time training people as well if we have a minimum group of 20. So that's something one can think of. And once, then we can start with starting little bit with small treks and then go on further. The message that I'd like to give, and it's something which is very prevalent in this time, is that interaction. Because now everything is still online, we are not meeting people personally. Interaction with your communication skills have to be honed at all times. People should go online, do some free courses. There are so many free courses happening everywhere. Uh, be passionate about life. If you're passionate about life, age will be on one side. You'll continue to learn. Uh, The biggest thing that I have really honed in my life is waking up early in the morning.
Mhm.
You can get a lot done early in the morning, whether it is your exercise, whether it's your meditation, or whether it is reading. And reading is another thing that I would advise and propose to people, that try and read 10 pages of any book every single day. Of course, you can read more, but reading is very important. It makes you an interesting person, it hones your knowledge, and also what happens is that you're able to progress in life much more. uh, Live your life with a purpose, with targets, with goals, with challenges. Because when you have something ahead of you, then you must reach it. If you fail, don't give up, go back again and do it. Because you must live a life with not just an automatic mode, get up, do this, do that. You must have something to look forward to, which is why when you get up in the morning, you must have that goal in front of you. Today, I have to do that. And learn something new every single day from any person, whether it's an older person, a smaller person. There's always something that you can learn. And if you learn something, don't keep the knowledge, share it. And then it'll become even more interesting. I think
Yeah.
that's, and the most important thing that I want to say is the present, which is now, is the most important moment. Nothing is permanent. Nothing. Now is the life. So live and do not exist.
And,
Live,
and
live,
and this is
live.
this is what COVID has taught everybody. I mean, this whole thing about, today is what it is, right? I mean, that's it. So that's
Absolutely.
something fantastic. And I think some of the things you mentioned about messages to the youth and in fact everybody in terms of lifestyle and what you can do and what you can achieve in your life is much more than what you think you can achieve, right? So it is fantastic. And you are like one of those examples, living examples of having done so many things and set up very difficult goals for yourself and got there. It's been amazing. So thank you very much, Sangeeta. I mean, I think we are running out of time now, and we could go on for a long time, but we got to wrap up the session. So my three takeaways from your session, Sangeeta, I just want to articulate here. One is, like you said, you can dream for anything. You can dream big. You can set up any goal for yourself uh, and get there. So that's one message. And you've done that so many times. Second is, no constraint is big enough uh, for stopping you from getting there. Physical, financial, social, any kind of constraint. It's all here. There's no constraint. It doesn't exist. It all sits in the brain, right? So that's what you said, and that's something which a takeaway I have. Third is to get to your goal. Hard work and perseverance. That is what pays. I mean, there's no shortcut to hard work. I mean, you just can't think about climbing Mount Everest and
There's,
get there
there's,
tomorrow.
there's no shortcut to the top.
There's no shortcut to the top. There's
So
actually
consistency.
yes, consistency, and not only top, anything. I mean, if you want to excel in any area, I mean, you think about you've been an example of doing many things and done that. But if you even look at the current Indian team, which was stars who did wonders in the recent Olympics. I mean, again, example of hard work. I mean, some of the athletes come from very basic, humble backgrounds, and they have actually just on their will and just on their hard work and perseverance, they got there and they did us proud. So these are the three messages I have, and I think there's so much so powerful messages for our audience in terms of what we can take away from this session, Sangeeta. So thank you very much for that. Uh, I would also like to thank the Vidya Tech team and all others who helped us organize this wonderful session, Sangeeta. And also would like to say that the recording for today's session is going to be available on the Vidya India channel on YouTube. And please go ahead and share that with your friends or your networks for everybody. Uh, so so that and one more announcement I want to make is that on 27th of August, there is another, the next webinar coming up with Ashok Kumar. I mean, some of you may have heard about Ashok Kumar. He was a India hockey team. He played for India hockey from 1970 to 1979. He's the son of the wizard of hockey, Dhyan Chand. And I remember that because I remember we were small in 70. We used to listen to the hockey commentary. There was no TVs that time. We used to put our ear on the radio and listen to the commentary. Because I remember in 1975, he scored a goal against Pakistan to win the World Cup. That he was very, very famous for that. And he's coming for the next session on 27th August on Friday at 7 p.m. So you'll hear more about that. I will now hand over the mic to Rashmi. As you all know, Rashmi is the founder and chairperson of VIDYA, and she has been doing. I've been in touch with Rashmi for about 7 to 8 years now, and every time I meet her, I get so inspired by what she's doing and how she's transforming lives. Amazing. So Rashmi, over to you for launching of VIDYA annual report.
Thank you so much, Yash. And it's not alone, it's you who helped me with everybody else, the team of it. But Sangeeta, you were just so inspirational. I just can't get over all the points that Yash shared. I second those points. And you really energize us all, especially me, and don't feel old anymore. I feel young. Thank you for making that happen. And it's not only me, it's everybody who's listened to you today is going to be so energized. And thank you, Dilruba, for the wonderful introduction. So we are here today to launch an e-launch of the VIDYA Annual Report 2020-2021 on this wonderful occasion for this webinar and the celebration of our Independence Day. It is a labor of love with contributions from the entire team span India of VIDYA to share our vision, our work, our ethos, our effort of all the VIDYA's projects, 78 of them across the country. The pandemic has caused so many challenges for all of us, but VIDYA, with its resilience and fever, has valiantly fought back. Just like you said, we don't give up, Sangeeta, just like you said, and rendered the best possible services and opportunities to keep alive the positive spirit and work like a family to all our students. And they come, as you know, from the most disadvantaged sectors of society. The annual report shares how VIDYA took the uphill task of not only covering the major COVID-related initiatives, which included providing digital aids like tabs, mobiles, laptops to all our students across VIDYA in Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi. Stories of courage of our young leaders who took charge of their own communities and much more awaits you in the annual report. Learning, the skill development has never ceased, and the teachers utilize this opportunity of online teaching to empower the lives of all our students. In addition to this, the teachers are also equipped themselves with current trends of technology and attended workshops and seminars and held events during this tough 2 years. VIDYA also ensured that the beneficiaries in the marginalized communities, like the healthcare workers and the migrant workers of various states, received rations, nutrition kits, including groceries, vegetables, everything. We provided for the neighborhood. VIDYA joined and amalgamated with the local healthcare units across different cities to ensure vaccinations, which is still going on at present in the VIDYA school. We vaccinated 2,000 people in the last 2 days. To all beneficiaries and their families, ensuring that a COVID-appropriate behavior is taken care of. But despite the changing situations, VIDYA has been successful to conduct and arrange for sessions by eminent speakers who share their fantastic experience related to the areas of their work through this knowledge webinars like the one you just shared with us. Yeah. So this has really brought us all together, and we've all learning so many things from people like you, Sangeeta. Well, we are sure that the VIDYA annual report will bring a visual delight to every reader, donors, well-wishers, and know the activities and the collaborations of VIDYA with their partners. We will also share with how you can give back, how you can support, you can mentor, you can volunteer, and make a difference with VIDYA wherever you are. I thank the amazing teams who worked very hard to create this annual report. Rekha, Leah, Ankit, Priyanka, Meenu, Valentine, Anjali, and Vinay Goyal, and all the teams across. I request Sangeeta and our special guest today, and Yash Dilruba, to help us launch this thing, launch the annual report. So at the count of three, the tech team will, and we will each press that button that you see in front of you and release the annual report. Let's do it.
There goes our countdown. 3,
Yes.
2, 1.
Yay! There we go.
And one round of applause for Sangeeta as well for conducting for this session.
Mehala is going to share a few pages of this annual report just to give you a little peek view. We'll be sharing this annual report with you right after this session with everybody who's attending and all our list of our webinar attendees. Thank you so much, Mehala. That made it so beautiful and so easy. So we end today with a very inspirational short clip. You know, on 19th May 2018 at 7:10 a.m., after walking for over 12.5 hours through the night, Sangeeta scaled finally Everest with all the impossible conditions, lack of oxygen, exhausted, singing the Gayatri Mantra through the tough climb, full of emotion and gratitude, but full of joy. To celebrate this huge achievement, she sang the national anthem. So we can't think of a better way to celebrate our Independence Day today together. We play this for you and we can all sing from wherever you are and enjoy.
And stand.
And yeah?
And stand. Stand up.
Stand up and sing the national. Yeah. Jai Hind and thank you.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा चल चल बिकरंगा गाये तब जय जन गण मंगल गाय जय
Beautiful. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
With that, we end the session. Thank you very much.